The police station was silent. Not the peaceful kind of silence, the kind that presses against your chest. A man sat on a wooden bench. No handcuffs clinking, no nervous tapping, no pleading eyes. He was smiling. One officer stood near the bars, confused. Another whispered, "Why isn't he scared?" The chief watched from behind his desk, unmoving. He had seen criminals cry. He had seen men beg. He had seen anger, rage, fear. But never this. The man looked around the station, as if he were waiting for a show to begin. The chief finally spoke, his voice cold. "Do you even understand where you are?" The man nodded gently. "Yes," he said. "Somewhere people forget to laugh." The room froze. The officers exchanged uneasy glances. This was not how arrests went. This was not how prisoners behaved. And then the chief asked the question that mattered most. "Who are you?" The man smiled a little wider. "Just someone," he replied, "who believes even bad moments deserve a little joy." That was the moment the chief realized this was no ordinary arrest, and this was no ordinary man. Let me tell you how he turned the most frightening knock on a door into the most unforgettable comedy the town had ever witnessed. The knock at the door was sharp, insistent, and urgent. Amanda paused in the kitchen, sensing something unusual. Mark, meanwhile, lay upside down on the sofa, balancing a spoon on his nose and humming a nonsense tune, completely unaware of the world outside. With a thud, he rolled to the floor and called out in his usual dramatic tone, "Who dares disturb the grand circus of Mark Thompson?" He opened the door to find two stern policemen standing there, hands resting on their belts. "Mark Thompson," one asked. Mark bowed deeply. "Yes, the one and only. Do you need tickets?" There was no smile from the officers. "Our chief has summoned you. You must come with us for questioning." Before any panic could even touch the room, Amanda called out teasingly from the kitchen, "Mark, on your way back, bring me a gold ring from the market." The policeman blinked. Mark turned to them, eyes wide. "See, officers? That's true love. She's not worried about me. She just wants jewelry." One officer coughed quietly, trying to hide a smile. And thus began what the town would later call the strangest arrest anyone had ever witnessed. Mark was a man who believed sorrow was like dust. If it wasn't swept away, it piled up and choked life. He made it his mission to clean sorrow with laughter. In the park, he juggled oranges for children until tears turned into giggles. In hospitals, he once announced, "Today's free medicine. Tickle your neighbor." Even patients with bandages on their heads laughed. When a boy lost his balloon, Mark handed him a paper bag tied with string. "Look, an invisible balloon. It never flies away because it's too shy." The boy laughed so hard he forgot his loss. Adults admired him. Children adored him. And even grumpy elders secretly waited for his visits. At home, Mark and Amanda were more than husband and wife. They were partners in mischief and comedy. One evening, Amanda sighed, "Mark, I'm too tired to cook." Moments later, Mark appeared wearing her apron, holding a carrot like a microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Cooking Disaster Show. Tonight's menu, burnt toast and confused soup." Amanda laughed so hard she nearly dropped the pan. Another day, their neighbor cried because her cat was stuck in a tree. Mark cupped his hands like a megaphone and shouted, "Sir Cat, come down, or I'll sing opera." He sang in the worst opera voice imaginable, and the cat, perhaps terrified or disgusted, leapt straight into the arms of its owner. One morning, Amanda poured a little blue food coloring into Mark's tea. When he lifted the cup, nothing seemed different, but as he sipped and saw his tongue and lips turn bright blue, he jumped back in shock. "Amanda, why are my lips and tongue blue?" She laughed and said, "Congratulations. You are officially the blue-tongue king today." Neighbors looking through the window laughed until some could hardly stand. Together, Mark and Amanda turned life itself into a stage of joy. Mark walked between the two policemen, his arms swinging as if he were a celebrity escorted by bodyguards. On the way, they passed a group of young women chatting near a shop. Mark slowed down, bowed slightly, and said to one girl, "Miss, your smile is so bright. Even the sun might feel shy today." The girl giggled. Her father, standing nearby, frowned and barked. "Young man, Are you flirting while under arrest? Mark pressed his palms together like a monk. Sir, when flowers bloom, even bees cannot stop buzzing. And I am just a harmless bee. The girl laughed louder, and the father shook his head, unable to hide a grin. One of the policemen leaned over and whispered with a half-smile. Careful, Mark. If you charm every girl we pass, we'll have to arrest half the town with you. Mark puffed his chest proudly. That's fine. We'll turn the lockup into a comedy club. The second officer muttered quietly, This is the strangest prisoner I've ever escorted. When they arrived at the police station, Mark was led into the office of Chief Jason, a man whose face seemed carved from stone. Jason looked up from behind his desk and asked coldly, So this is the man? The officers confirmed with a nod, and Jason ordered, Put him in the lockup. Mark, however, stepped forward boldly. Chief Jason, forgive me, but I must say something. You, my wife, and I, we are all made of the same clay. The officers froze. Jason frowned. What kind of nonsense is that? Mark spread his hands with theatrical seriousness. When the police came to arrest me, my wife didn't worry about my fate. She only asked for a gold ring. On the way here, I praised a girl's smile instead of worrying about danger. And now you, Chief, you want to lock me up without even asking if I'm guilty. We are all made of the same clay of careless hearts. For a long moment, the room was silent. Then one officer covered his mouth to hide laughter. The other chuckled openly. Even Chief Jason, whose stern lips had never curved into a smile during his career, broke into a deep, surprised laugh that filled the office. You fool, Jason said finally. Are you not even the man we were supposed to arrest? The real culprit, a thief with the same name, Mark Thompson, was still at large. Jason wiped tears of laughter from his eyes and said, Mark, men like you don't belong in a cell. You belong on a stage. Mark bowed like an actor after a flawless performance. Sir, the world itself is my stage. Trouble is just another audience I must entertain. The officers led him out of the office, still chuckling as whispers spread throughout the station. Did you hear? He made the chief laugh. As Mark stepped out, a curious officer called after him. What's on your mind now, funny man? Mark paused, a soft smile spreading across his face. My father used to tell me, if you can make someone smile when they are sad, you've done something truly holy. Today, even the chief's heart smiled. For once, the policemen didn't chuckle. They only nodded, a quiet respect in their eyes. When Mark reached home, Amanda was waiting at the door. Did you bring my gold ring? She teased. Mark shook his head. No ring. But I brought something better. I made the police chief laugh. Amanda touched his cheek gently and whispered, Mark, you've always been my gold. You shine brightest when you turn pain into laughter. Neighbors gathered outside, eager to hear the tale. Mark performed every detail with wild gestures until people laughed so hard their sides hurt. Years later, the story of Mark Thompson, the man who turned even his arrest into comedy, remained alive in the hearts of the town. Children who had once laughed at his juggling remembered the invisible balloons, and adults still chuckled recalling the Blue-Tongue King. Neighbors spoke of him as if he were magic, a man who could make even a grim police station feel like a festival. People said that sorrow seemed to shrink whenever he appeared, and joy seemed to follow like an old friend. Even the policemen who had escorted him home remembered the day they could not stop laughing, and the chief's rare smile became a tale told for years. Mark and Amanda continued their playful adventures, each small prank and kind gesture turning ordinary life into something extraordinary. And in every whispered story, every shared laugh, one truth remained clear. Wherever Mark went, sorrow had no chance. Dear friends, if this story brought a smile to your face, imagine what sharing it could do for someone who really needs laughter today. Life may knock on your door in serious ways, in confusing ways, or even with trouble, but how you respond can turn it into joy. If you enjoyed stepping into a world beyond the ordinary, please consider liking this video, sharing it with friends, and subscribing so you never miss stories that make the heart laugh, the soul warm, and the mind wonder. Because sometimes, the world doesn't need louder voices. It just needs stories that remind us how powerful a smile can be.